Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for September 29th through October 5th. This week I read one book, I watched 3 shows, I watched one movie, and I listened to one book. You might recognize this location from last week, which I made an unfortunate joke and then something happened in this week, and my goodness, let me tell you about that in a second. But if you weren't here last week, I'm actually in a backyard pub. It's called the Frogmore Pub. It's owned by a family of mine. It's really adorable, but it's raining and it's made of tin, so I'm sure the audio on this episode is going to be a little bit different than usual, and I hope you like it because I personally love the sound of rain, but I know it's not for everyone. Last week I filmed this video at my normal time, which is a little bit earlier than now, which means the sun wasn't fully up, so I made a 404 joke, considering last week was Weekly Entertainment Wrap-Up number 404. I'm gonna pop in right here and say there's a 404 error, the sun cannot be found because it hasn't come up yet. And my 404 joke was basically 404 sun could not be found, and I really wanted people to put their favorite 404 jokes in the comments of that video, and nobody did, which is a little bit sad. But not as sad as getting an email when I was at the grocery store saying, "Your channel has been removed from YouTube," and me going, "Oh no, that's gotta be spam. There's no way that's a real thing. I'll check that later." And then once I'm done grocery shopping, I go to look at my channel and it's completely gone. Turns out this happened to a lot of people. It was probably just a programming error, and I got my channel back because I'm talking to you right now on it. But it was an incredibly stressful time because I was like, well, that's 9 years and over 1,000 videos just gone in the blink of an eye for no reason. That's fun. Shouldn't have made a 404 joke. In any case, they're working on restoring all of those channels that were accidentally taken down for whatever reason, which mostly means that the comment sections of videos are a little bit weird, because on the back end in the Studio app for creators, you can look at different things that people have commented, and usually I've got it filtered so only comments that I haven't replied to show up, because I make the effort to reply to everybody. But now I've got it right now where there's these really old comments that say I haven't replied, but I've definitely replied. They just haven't put the reply back onto the site, and I don't know if they ever will. So yeah, if the comment sections of any of my old videos look weird, that's why. Also, they changed their coffee system here, so last week I didn't know how to use their coffee machine and somebody else made me coffee after I made my video because I got up before everybody else. But now I know how to use it, so I can drink coffee and film a video at the same time. Fancy. Anyway, that's enough preamble. Let's get into what I read. This week I read How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. This is the first book in a series. It's the first one that's out and the only one that's out right now. The second one I believe comes out in May of 2025. And I'm excited to see how that goes because I really enjoyed this one. This one is really interesting because our main character is this woman named Davy. She's bisexual. She's snarky as all hell. She's from our world, but about 1,000 years ago she was actually sucked into a fantasy world, and every time she dies she starts right back where she started in that fantasy world, which means she's lived a few hundred lives at this point. She came to the conclusion that pretty much every one of her lives ends with a Dark Lord coming to power and then her getting murdered along with a bunch of other people, and she was originally under this delusion that she was the chosen one and she was going to be able to fix this situation because that's exactly what happens when she wakes up in this pond. Some old dude is like, "You're the chosen one, please help us." However, going through this more times than she can count, she's like, you know what? Screw that. I don't want to be the chosen one. I'm gonna become the Dark Lord. So she essentially starts save scumming her way through becoming the Dark Lord. So she'll start out, she'll get killed, she'll reflect on what she did badly in that situation, and she'll fix it along the way. And the really fun thing about her character is she is from our world, but it's been a very long time since she's been here. So she knows pop culture references, but they don't necessarily stick properly in her brain. So she'll be doing these funny things that only she understands because the people in this world are like, she's just a little bit weird, but let's go with it. She seems to know what she's talking about because she seems to have this power of forethought because she knows certain things that are definitely going to happen because she's lived them so many times. Meanwhile, as the reader, we're just laughing at the fact that her horde is singing like a pop culture song that we definitely know as a marching song. I found this engaging, incredibly entertaining. It is also very, very gory, so if you're going into this and you're expecting not to see blood and guts and different ways that people kill each other and potentially end certain lifetimes so they can start over, if any of that is sensitive to you, I would be cautious going into this book. However, I absolutely freaking loved it, and just the way it ended, I need the next book immediately because, yeah, I'm not going to tell you how it ended because that would be silly of me. I want you to read the book, so I want you to figure it out on your own, but I desperately want to know what happens next. On to the shows I watched. I, of course, continued my marathon of Criminal Minds, and I actually finished the 17th season, which is all that's available on my streaming platform at this point, so I did it. I watched 17 seasons of Criminal Minds in the past few months. Obviously, these past couple of seasons were a little bit different because they were filmed after certain things happened globally, but overall, I really still enjoy this show, and I really want to see what's going to happen in the next season. As I talked about many seasons ago, there was a backdoor pilot into something called Criminal Minds Suspect Behavior. That's the first spin-off series, and that's the next show I can talk about because I watched the first 5 episodes of that. I believe there's only 13 episodes. This one got cancelled pretty quickly, which I'm really bummed out about. The woman whose name my mouth refuses to say right now because it just can't wrap itself around the name, but the woman from both Mystery Men and Dogma, that woman, Janine Garofalo, I want to say that's how you say it. She's in the main cast, and then the director of the FBI circa this time frame is played by Richard Schiff, which is amazing because I loved him in The West Wing. And I feel like we were getting some character growth, we were getting to know these characters a little bit more. It was maybe a little bit heavy-handed with Prophet stuff in the first episode, but you know, it's a brand new show. But I also know that we only have like 13 episodes, so I'm trying not to get too attached to these characters. I can understand why spin-offs like this don't always work, because a lot of the draw of Criminal Minds are those original cast members, or are the cast members that you know and love. And it's hard to have the same kind of format, but with completely different people, because you're constantly being like, oh, this person isn't as good as their counterpart in the show, and that type of thing. Or they are, but we're just used to the counterpart, and then it just seems wrong because reasons. This week, my roommate and I also watched a few more episodes of The Handmaid's Tale. We're still in the 2nd season. I think we still have like 3 episodes to go in this season. We're doing it pretty slowly because she's a busy woman, so we only end up seeing probably 3 or so a week. And a lot of emotional things happen in this show, and just situations where you're trying to navigate it as best you can because you want to do things for people, but you also don't want to be punished for doing things for people. I think we're just starting to see Serena realize she made a terrible mistake by bringing in this new world order with the commander and everybody else, because yeah, it's not great, and I'm excited for her to completely turn. That would be amazing, but I don't know if that's what happens because obviously I haven't seen it yet. Not me completely forgetting to talk about something on my list because I couldn't see my list because my phone is currently being used as a light source, which has my list on it. If you're wondering, yes, I'm not wearing my robe and you're not on a tripod because I ran back outside in the rain to film this bit because I didn't film it the first time. The movie I watched this week is called Slay. This is about 4 drag queens who think they're going to this very iconic place that they've always wanted to perform in, but it turns out somebody booked the wrong venue. While they're there, they don't know if they really want to stay because it doesn't really seem like a crowd that is going to be excited that they're there. And then vampires attack, and everybody has to band together to not get eaten by vampires. If you've watched a decent amount of RuPaul's Drag Race, some of these people will look familiar to you. 3 out of 4 of the drag queens I knew. The 4th one might be from a later season or a different international season that I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't look into it. But this is equal parts scary because of the vampire aspect, but also silly, but also a little bit ditzy, but also glam and fun and heartwarming, and it's exactly what you want it to be. It's a vampire movie, but with drag queens. It's fantastic. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's the best movie I've ever seen or anything like that, but it's exactly what you expect it to be, and it's delightful. And now I run back through the rain. As for the audiobook I listened to this week, that was Butter Honey Pig Bread. This one is one I picked up because it's a Canadian read from my understanding. I think that's how it got onto my list, so it's by a Canadian author is what I mean by that. And it also might have been a finalist from Canada Reads. I don't follow that as closely as I want to because I always forget it's a thing until it's already happened. If that is how it got onto my list, it's because there's a challenge for reading different types of Canadian reads throughout the year, and that was just a book that I could get through the library, so I did. And this one concerns 3 women from Nigeria, Kombiranachi, who is the mother, and then her twin daughters, which is Taye and KK. KK is the shortened version of her name. I can't can't remember the longer version of her name right now. It's also really difficult for me to remember names if I've only heard them and not read them, especially if they're not names I'm familiar with, so I apologize for that. Editing me can put their names on the screen right now. But with the format of this book, it kind of seamlessly goes between the mother's perspective and the daughter's perspectives and through different time frames. So we'll see the daughters as kids, we'll see the mother as kids, we'll see the daughters separating because of a situation, and one goes off and does these things and one goes off and does these other things, and they're kind of world travelers. And we'll see them in different locations around the world and coming back to Lagos and all of these types of things. It's an interesting format because every once in a while you're like, wait, who am I following right now? And then the name will be said and you're like, oh yeah, of course I am. Duh. But for a while it would take me a little bit of time to realize that we had switched perspectives. Additionally, the name of this book comes from different things that are being used in a culinary way because Tae has gone to culinary school, so she'll be talking about different foods and different reasons why that food is particularly interesting in the moment of that book, and the book is kind of set up in 4 different parts based on those 4 different foods. I'm hard pressed to figure out what else to say about this book because there is a lot about the plot that you learn along the way, which obviously that's how plots work, so I feel silly saying that out loud. But there was this rift between these characters and we don't really know why for a very long time, and it is for a very sensitive reason, so please look up trigger warnings going into this if you are sensitive to anything. Also, I'm concerned about talking about the mother's kind of timeline of things and doing it its own justice and being really respectful while doing it, because on the one hand she seems to have this connection to her ancestors and they talk to her, but on the other hand, from kind of my Western standpoint, I'm like, are we meant to know that she's mentally ill, or is this a legitimate thing? I'm not entirely certain, and I don't want to say it's one over the other, and I don't want to be disrespectful when I'm talking about that. So it's just something I want to mention, but not talk too much about because I could be talking out of my butt. So yeah, this one had beautiful writing. I really enjoyed getting to know these characters. There were obviously some devastating parts, but it's not one of those things that I think I would have picked up on my own, which means it's pretty good that I picked it up for a reading challenge because that's how I challenge myself to read more broadly. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!